Yo, this is Mike Bland. Welcome to the Leadership Fellowship Podcast. We had to be qualified to have a conversation. Let's go. Welcome to the Leadership Fellowship Podcast, where we have an awesome guest this evening, Fatima Williams, who is a Ocean Township resident. I used to reside in Ocean Township, went to Ocean Township High School, graduate of the arch nemesis Spartans, or whatever they call themselves. She also says she went to the real HU,
The
only Howard University.
Yes.
Also has a master's in Full Sail University in master's in entertainment business. Profession, she's a life insurance agent at New York Life Insurance and an entrepreneur. I am proud to have you today. I'm excited to jump into our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, we're excited, and you know, I've learned so much about you from our producer, Mr. Encore. He said we have to have Fatima on. We have to, and so I'm excited to really jump in and let's get going. And so let's talk about it. So you're originally from Ocean Township. You told me before you moved from upstate New York.
Yep.
And you're from Ocean. Tell me a little bit about that experience being from Ocean Township, being a sister in Ocean Township, because we know that's difficult.
Yeah.
But tell me about what was that like growing up in Ocean Township?
I mean, at the time when I went to Ocean, without putting an actual date on myself, when I was there, it was diverse, but obviously there was a predominance of, white students in the school, more so than anything else. So I think there was, the racism wasn't overt, if we're going to go there.
Right.
I think it was not really with the students. I've seen more of a shift in ideals and things of that nature now that we're all adults. Whether you're married, you have children, or whatever profession you're in. I think that in high school we really didn't have any cares. You didn't really, the mindset was, we don't have any bills. We're just out here to have a good time.
Right.
We're just here so we won't get fined. You know what I'm saying?
You march our list?
Exactly.
You find out you know about the beast world.
A little bit. I know some things. So, we were just having fun, living life, enjoying ourselves. And so whatever circle you found yourself in, whether it was through, the classes you were in or your extracurricular activities, you just kind of linked up with people who all had the same mind at that point. So it wasn't really about a color and a religion situation at that time. But, I mean, I will say that I was in high school during 9/11. I know that was a slight shift to see almost, overnight how an assumption was made, and so it became the norm. And so everyone that kind of fell under the umbrella of that assumption kind of got the side eye.
Right.
So that was definitely different, whether you were, a black Muslim or a Muslim who was born in another country and was not African American per se. I think that, a lot of assumptions were made, and I think that prejudices were born from that. And that was really the biggest issue when it came to students. I know going to Ocean at that time, hearing from some of the teachers how they were students in Asbury, and they were aware of the change when there was the great shift or the migration out of Asbury schools for a lot of the white families, and they were a part of that.
We had something similar to that in Long Branch, called Urban Element, right?
Yes.
Where people left Long Branch and went to West Long Branch. Right, sure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, that's fine. So they were aware of, or they saw the shift in the segregation and things like that, or the stories that I've heard about, I think the Asbury riots, and who started what and who finished what.
Sounds similar, right?
Yeah, it's similar, but it's also depending on who you ask, you get a different answer. I'll put it that way.
Gotcha.
But they were aware of what Asbury was and what Asbury is, and I think just from reading books and stuff, and the redlining and opportunity zones, all the keywords you're supposed to know right now as a black professional in America in 2020. You see things, or you remember you experience things in life that now make sense when you can actually put a word to what you went through. So
you dropping jewels, Fatima, and I got to tell you, I almost now as an adult, I almost envy my uncles and my sisters, my uncles and aunts went to Norfolk State. My sister went to Bennett College, and my aunt went to HU. But I think one of the things I always want to know, being from here, right, and you go to a predominantly white school, Ocean Township, and I feel like I had to reverse psychology, right? Going to Long Branch, where everybody probably thought that was like the melting pot of the short conference in Ocean County. It was like, here's everything in Long Branch, right? And then going to URI and being like one of only 30 black people in the class, you're like, I don't know what this is like, right? But for you, you had an opposite experience. You go to, overwhelming majority white school. Then you go to HU, you were probably like, okay, Tootsie Slide, it wasn't even out there, right? But like, The culture shock was different. Tell me what that's like, right? Because I think now even we're talking about athletes, like student athletes, these 5, 4, 3-star athletes, trying to convince them now to go to HBCUs. But
Yeah.
tell me what that was like going to, you know, being a black student, predominantly white school, now having that paradigm shift, and now you're like, you know, walking to Wakanda.
Right. It was amazing. It was surreal. I was unprepared. There was no way to, like, my parents didn't go to HBCUs. They weren't a part of any fraternities or sororities. So
Right.
I was the first to go to a black college, and that was definitely a culture shock, but it was the best culture shock. It was necessary. I think that the education system in high school is very like 1 + 1 is 2.
Right.
1 + 1 is 2. And tomorrow I'm going to test you. Do you know 1 + 1 is 2? I might even ask you what 2 - 1 is. Just, you know, a little razzle dazzle. You go to college, or I went to Howard, and it was like, so you gave me the book that may have contained 1 + 1 is 2, but also what 1 was, what 2 meant, and all the other components of these other, you know, mathematic equations. And the test could say anything and everything. And so instead of me having to study, I never really had to study in high school. That was not my issue. I went to college and I had to really force myself, and that was new. And I wasn't home with my parents who were like, you know, now is study time, now is homework time. I mean, half that stuff we got done on the bus, because
Right.
we knew when we got home we wanted to go outside.
Right.
Or whatever
right.
it was. In
People
college,
to go outside, but
Right.
anyway.
whole other situation, whole other conversation. But like, I mean, being at Howard, I had to force myself and teach myself how to study, and that was a shock in itself. And I think it wasn't the whole, you know, the smart black girl. Whereas you're in a university full of smart black girls. You're in a university full of smart black guys.
Right.
So what you gonna do? How do you separate yourself? Who are you? And that was really what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear stories about people saying, you know, I wish I would have taken a year off in between high school and college, and I think about that, and maybe I would have been complacent. I might have maybe stayed home and like never felt like I needed to have another experience.
Right.
And not knowing what I missed.
Right.
You know, maybe I would have taken something local, something, you know, and no shade to any local universities in New Jersey, but leaving home,
Talk
being
about
at
it.
HBCU,
Talk about it.
and also being in Chocolate City, being in DC, I mean,
The Mecca.
I'm thankful, and I miss it. They may see me soon, they may not, who knows. But, I mean, I think it's an experience that I would tell any young black person to do. If they can somehow capture that and tackle it and consume it, I would say do so. I mean, I've had students, high school students, or their parents say, you know, what do you suggest for my child? What should they major in? What should they do? X, Y, Z. I'm like, well, I was a political science major. I have my degree in political science. I touch on politics at times. Obviously, we all do. It's not my main focus, and there's so many people that went into Howard with a different major and came out with becoming a lawyer.
Sure.
My intention initially was, I want to be a lawyer, and then I got into Howard and I realized I wasn't really fond of history like that.
Right.
Now, who knew that I would have to know my history now
You dropping jewels, Queen. Come on.
to even exist in some form where we are, but like, as far as studying the history that wasn't necessarily mine, or even the things that I thought I knew from high school, the things they taught us, the way they taught us, completely different. But again, like, just understanding, you know, the 401 years that we've been since 1619, or, you know, the Reconstruction era, or,
my
you know,
favorite time in history.
just, you know, the season of the HBCUs being created and established, and what that meant, and even where we are now, and history is important. I'll put it to you that way. And I laugh, you know, God's sense of humor is awesome. You know, you think you have a plan, and he will quickly change your mind.
You got a plan. God's sense of humor is, they say the way God laughs, you go ahead and make a plan for yourself, right?
Yeah. You can write it down and make a plan if you want to. But we'll leave that there, because that's write it down, make a plan, watch it manifest.
Right.
Or not.
Right.
And that's
right.
okay. And I think that's where I am now. I know, hopefully, that we are, but that's where I am right now. Understanding, you know, my history, not necessarily everything, but definitely in part, and where I fit into it, and looking to create history as I move forward.
So I think you hit on some great points, right? And I think for me, again, I talked about my URI experience, and I'm like, nah, I crave that. But I was, you know, just like you, I was a poli-sci major, but I was always thirsty for more history, right?
Okay.
I was always like, give me more. Who were the mores, right? And now I'm a Mason, but understanding Prince Hall Masonry, right? Like why, how that all constructed, right? One group would tell you Solomon's Temple, the other group would tell you the Moors, right?
Right.
But even going deep, right? You come down here, you see the pictures of, Civil War, Reconstruction, Negro League, right? Let's just cap off, 100-year anniversary for Negro League. My grandfather and great-grandfather and his brother, all three of them played in the Negro League. So,
wow, okay.
But something, I think, because you hit this, and I hear it from everybody that goes from HBCU, and I think you hit on it a lot. But if you can talk about one overwhelming experience that you learned from going to HBCU that you'll never get in high school, right? We talk about, we're taught this European English moniker, right? This old English culture. That's not even our culture, right? We're not even taught American culture, because if we were taught American culture, we would have known about Reconstruction. We would have known about Tulsa, Oklahoma. We would have known about, George Washington's teeth weren't wood, and they were actually teeth of slaves, right? We've known that Christopher
That's one of
Columbus.
the most frustrating things to hear, because I remember that whole wood statement. It's like, oh, okay.
Right, who puts wood in their mouth? Like, those teeth never rot?
And he didn't. Okay.
Right.
I think one of the most overwhelming experiences, I guess that's hard to quantify. I don't know. I mean, I think there's been a memory every year, from all 4 years I was in undergrad. I think that I'll put it to you this way. In order to get onto main campus, there's a hill you have to walk up. You can take the shuttle. If you want to wait, you can walk the long way and go up the School of B side, which is a little bit, shallower, easier on the knees. Okay? Or you can just hustle, because most of my classes were close to the main entrance to campus, and just walk up that high hill. Okay. And I think that in the beginning, I'll say freshman and sophomore year, there was a point where I tried to avoid that hill. Right. And I would wait, I would take the shuttle, or I'd have to wait it out, or I'd take the long way.
Right.
And I think that over time, it was like, you have to tackle that hill, Fatima. You have to get up that hill. And while we're looking at it as a physical hill, that was a whole lot of everything. It was, being shy, lack of knowledge, just expressing yourself, making friends, figuring out who you are. You have to tackle that. Fatima, you have to figure out how you're going to get up this hill. It's going to be easy for you. You're going to let somebody else take you up there, or you're going to get it yourself. You're going to grind and get up that hill on your own. And I will say that the knees, they have to get oiled now, but I will walk up the long hill. I will go up the high hill now, because that hill it's a reminder of what it took to become who I am today.
Right.
And it was beyond just the 4 years at undergrad.
Right. And it's almost like the verse in the Golden Negro Spiritual Black National Anthem, "Stony the road we cross," right? So you're crossing that road every time, right? And it's funny, because URI was like that. We was at the athletics were on the bottom level, main living was on the middle level, and student life was on this level, and then academia was at the top level, right? And so I think about like that translation, trying to make myself like, okay, now as an athlete, like I gotta walk up this hill every day, right? I gotta fight this fight every day. Yep. So I think if we can do something that's unique, because there's so much more about you to know and to dig into, right? You're like the greatest history is mystery, but let's take a quick break, and then let's jump right back into it.
Awesome.
We're back with Fatima. Yo, we talked about HU, right? Yo, HU, I don't even want to go into this because my wife would kill me, but I remember one of my good friends left URI and went to HU. Okay. And everybody talks about the Howard homecomings, right? Everybody talks about Howard is the whole move. Yes. Like what part can you tell us about that experience? Like what part did you play in that experience?
I mean, most of the students fall semester try their best not to have classes on Friday, because the Friday of homecoming of Yard Fest was like, I'm just not going to be in class, and I don't want to be penalized for that.
You got to be in shape.
So the students prepare in August for October. Okay. One day, it's fine. It means everything. But I mean, homecoming, again, another surreal moment, but I was a part of Industry Power Players, which was one of the student organizations on campus. Most of the students in that group were attached to, worked for, interned with some of the labels at that time during undergrad. So when we had artists for Yard Fest, a lot of times there was an intern or a student, a part of EPP that was connected with that artist, and making sure that their merch was passed out if they were having a signing or a meet and greet somewhere on campus or shortly off campus. Like they were helping to orchestrate that from the student level. Wow. So real exposure. Yeah, it was cool to be a part of that, to see the student and to make it feel like I could actually organize, I could create. and it wasn't something so far away that I couldn't reach it. And I think that was really awesome to have relationships then and even now, because a lot of the people who were in that group, they're doing big things in labels now, or they're in marketing still, they're in entertainment. So it's good to see that consistency. I'll put it that way.
So where did that take you? Because I mean, that sounds like a boatload of opportunity, right? So I can say in politics, my experience, poli-sci, and my mother gave me a wealth of experience, right?
Yeah.
I met Barack Obama when he was, President Barack Obama when he was a senator. I mean, I go on Jesse Jackson, and so kind of propelled me now, right, to where. What experience did like at home come and say like, damn, like I want to do this, and then what happened?
I never really had a handle on what I wanted to do in entertainment. I just knew I wanted to do everything.
Yeah.
I've worked for a number of places. I mean, I started off with Fuse TV. I did some TV production and events,
Wow.
Live events. So Drake and a number of other artists I was there for. I did.
So you were really with him when you started on the bottom.
Maybe post gym.
But okay.
Maybe like shortly after the gym. But
Okay.
yes, in
Okay.
some form. In some form. So yeah, we did some countdown, top 20, top 100 shows, live event production for Fuse TV. I worked at the Source magazine. I did marketing and advertising with the Source magazine, Jones magazine. I did start my own marketing company, so I consulted. I've done a few events that have benefited me directly. I've worked for NBC Universal, NBC, BET, the Black Film Festival, which was another awesome, super Black and super Howard experience. A lot of them are Howard University graduates. That was another thing. When you sit and, I think a lot of Black people can sit in a room or friends. You sit in a room and you say, you know what, there's no reason for us to have to go outside of my circle of friends to make things happen.
Come on.
And that's what I learned being an ABFF. Most of them were friends, before ABFF, and most of them were Howard University graduates. And that made my heart light to see more generations of us being a part of that. And I was like, this is like, it's real. The legacy is real.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I mean, I've done a bunch of things. And I think I did some radio at some point, some terrestrial, some radio, and some digital things behind the scenes. But I mean, yeah, a lot. Still doing things.
Because I hear this experience that you're talking about, and one of the things you hit on, you struck a chord with me, unscripted, is like, why do we go outside of our circle for the resources we need, right? There are too many talented people, right? Like our producer, Mr. Encore, right? Like, he does the beats, he does video, he does photography, right?
Yes.
Like, so for me, I'm never going to go outside and hire, outside vendor. Like, he goes first, right? And so, like, where have we lost that sense of culture? Maybe because some of us did go to HBCU. We didn't learn how to lean on each other, right? Like, we've got to, like, we have to ask for permission first, right? Before we ask our own circle in our own house. Like, so was that culture built from Howard, or did you get that, like, that sense of awareness before Howard, or?
I think it came with Howard and it grew. It really started there. I mean, my father became an entrepreneur after, I got to college, so I learned about, certain things as I grew. But I think once undergrad started, and again, in EPP, Industry Power Players, and how we created live events, and we had meet and greets, we did the signings, and everyone had a task, and it was about, experiencing or having that event execution, and then being able to come back and say, okay, we had success here, in this pocket, we could have done better here, we completely failed here, whatever it was, but internally understanding and owning up to the mistakes that we made or our successes.
Right.
And I think that, and most of my really good friends know, I'm the ideator, and I don't know if that's a word, but it's mine. I've coined it. I own it.
Listen, we can create our own language we did before. Why can't we do that?
Again,
They call it the original language, but we won't go there. Go ahead.
We won't, not right now. Whole other show. But no, I'm an ideator in the sense that, like, people will say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and my spirit will continue to ideate for them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, you hear ministers, they don't interact with people after a certain time, before they preach, after they preach, whatever. I know when people say, I want to do X, Y, and Z, my spirit, not me, my spirit will continue to ideate for you. And you might get a text from me at 4 o'clock in the morning, not because I'm up intentionally, but because that's when the aha moment happened. And so if I don't impart it, if I don't write it down, I won't remember it. And that's just what it's come to be. But I also know that with that, I've got, friends that are architects, friends that are in property casualty, friends that are also in insurance, doctors, attorneys, and we can have an in-house something. What is it? And not everyone is actionable.
Come on.
Some people are the resource. They're just like with the protests and everything that's happening right now. Not everyone's built to march.
That's a word.
It is.
That's a word. That's a word.
Some people are the resource.
Right.
I'm not going to march, but how much do you need?
Right.
How can I get what you need?
Right.
You need to
right.
have
Somebody had to fund Martin too, right? We don't know all the people that funded Martin, right?
It's and that's what it's. Not everyone has the mindset to create. Not everyone wants to actually be a part of the work and the grind.
Right.
But they will gladly support you financially. What do you need, and how can I help? And I have a lot of friends who have the resources, and they're like, "Well, Tima, what do you need? How can I help you get to certain places?" And I've had many friends look to pour into me in many ways, and I know whether it's hindered me or not, I've stopped them from financially pouring into me because I don't want to be the fumble with your resources because it's I have to now answer to you.
But that's the risk we gotta take, though, right? Like, because remember before the white boys take the risk, we don't take the risk.
They sure do,
right? And we apologize to each other, right? Or we apologize to, so we've got to be able to take those risks, right? And so clearly you've taken those risks, and so you've not only have you taken those risks, but you have these lived experiences, and you talked about doing what you did at Howard, working at Source Magazine. I want to learn more about that, right? You can give me the tea, like why did they fold? But I feel like we found a gem, right? And because I always say, like, the deeper we get into our cause, the deeper we find our solutions, right? So even what I'm doing, like, the deeper I meet people from all over the country who are doing great work, I'm like, we got to plug this in and work together, right? Because I always say, this is a term that I use. God told me He was going to give me the nation, give my enemies the neighborhood. And so, like, there's nation building to be done, but there's also folks that can take care of the neighborhood for us, if you know what I mean, right? And so like, you're somebody that can take care of the neighborhood, and so, and part of taking care of the neighborhood, you now do life insurance.
I do.
And one of our guests that we had come on before, he talked about the importance of life insurance. But you're in it. You're in the nitty gritty. You're like, and I'm gonna hit on this a little bit. Tell me about the importance of life insurance. I'm somebody who doesn't have it, right? I have 2 daughters, right? I travel a lot. Like, spill the beans. Like, tell me this is not a Ponzi scheme. Tell me we need life insurance. Well, I know it's not a Ponzi scheme, but we got a lot of listeners that say, oh, they think about getting life insurance. Like, but that should be a check in the box at what age?
Well, I will say to you like this. My first death claim was a family member. And they signed their life insurance application 24 hours before they were killed. Not approved, not placed, not 24 hours before they were killed. And so when are you, oh heck yeah. And so being a part of New York Life and not knowing the processes of a death claim, but also on a personal level, trying to have the mental capacity to realize, like, to do both, to be the grieving family member and also to be the agent and do the things the agent is supposed to do and have this sober mindset and come in and be the help. And so when you look for a sign like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be, that was like, okay, thank you, I got it. Give me a minute, I got to get it together. But yeah, like, that was one of the confirmations. I mean, so what I'm saying is, to answer your question, there's never a more pertinent time to get life insurance than right now. A lot of us, a lot of human beings have life insurance through work.
Right.
We don't understand, as a culture, what life insurance does for us. So for the most part, Black people are 12 years behind in life insurance. And what that means is, we're looking at life insurance as, I hear it, pick an age group, pick a demographic. I just need a little bit to be buried in. Okay.
What's a little bit, right?
What does it take to bury you? Because you're thinking, just put me in the ground. But don't let the people mourning for you now have to deal with a potluck, a GoFundMe, selling the house, because you didn't know what you needed in your life. Let's not wait until we're too old, and that could, or unhealthy, And that could change in the matter of a blink of an eye.
Right.
And it's not always about what we eat and what we consume. It's so and so got hit by a car. So and so, and now can no longer do X, Y, Z, or certain things. I mean, Lou Gehrig's disease. Pick something
Right.
that can possibly no longer qualify you to be insured.
Right.
So when we look at life insurance through work, it's usually a multiplier of our salary.
Okay.
And we already know that we don't feel like we get paid enough. Pick a salary. Pick a company.
Right.
It's not enough. Overworked, underpaid, fed up, tired. That's usually how it goes. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
That's
so
right.
if it's not enough for you to get paid, the times 1 is times 2 enough. And I'll put it to you in this perspective. Life insurance is not just about a death benefit. There are living benefits in life insurance. Now, you have a family, you have a spouse, you have somebody that could benefit from the resources of the life insurance policy. How long can they live without you, without your salary, without your help? If you're a stay-at-home parent, how long can they deal with someone doing what you did and now paying for it? That's what life insurance is. It's not just a death benefit. It's not just a burial expense. It's not putting you in a wall or putting you in an urn or putting you on a fireplace.
Right.
It's making sure that whoever you left here can sustain without you. You make $100,000 a year. Nice. You living life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got the house. You have a $200,000 life insurance policy from your job. Nothing else. How many years can your family live without you? Maybe 2, huh?
2.
Because we buried you with some of that 200.
Right.
You might have had some bills.
So,
Can we pay off the house with
Right.
that?
You got credit cards. You still got a car.
You probably have a nice car.
Right.
You might have a debt or 2. Credit card. Right. Maybe not even medical bills. We're not even looking at anything crazy. It was just a split situation and you just passed away. So now how long can your family live? So we knocked out, we buried you with some of that $200,000. We knocked out some of your debt with some of that $200,000. Did we pay off the house? Probably not.
Probably not. Right.
But your family still got to live.
Right. Right. Regardless of that house is paid off or not, that house you still got to pay taxes.
Right.
On the
But you think that I have enough. And I heard that. And it's hard. The hardest sell is the people closest to you. Trying to convince family and friends that the girl who used to be in entertainment, the girl who used to do marketing and advertising, is now qualified to tell you about your resources and your finances and your protection and your savings and your financial house.
Wow.
And when I started my marketing company, and even when I work in entertainment in the Source and other, I looked at myself as a connector of people and a creator of brands. And that was just who I was then. And when I first started working for New York Life, I had friends and colleagues, are you sure you want to do that? You want to leave marketing? You want to leave marketing? Like, no matter how they emphasize it, it was like, you're going to leave marketing?
Right.
You want to leave marketing? You want to leave marketing? Like, sis, I have not left the company that I own. I still own my marketing company. It's still an active company.
So you got an LLC. So you got the stash on the side, right?
I do.
So you're taking care of during tax season.
Right.
We don't talk about that as black and brown folk. Like, why do we need to have LLCs at the very least just for our babies, right? And so how we can even, right, when we go on vacation, people don't know that you can get that, what they call it, research and development.
Yeah.
But we ain't gonna talk about that, right? Right, you can charge that to research and development. But so that's my thing, right? So young couple, right? Like how much is it, right? Basic life insurance, because the folks are gonna listen to this, and I think folks basic life insurance. Talk to me.
Basic life insurance. I'm going to put it to you like this, and I know people don't want to hear this. It's really hard to quantify, but I will say that for the most part, any budget, I've been able to help. Now, most of us, we only want term because of the cost. It's less expensive compared to whole. Or we only want whole because we want it to last forever. And sometimes we come in with the whole life mentality and the term life budget. And that's okay.
That's okay.
But you have to understand that, the benefits of either one and what that means today. So today we're going to work on what works for your budget today. You have X amount of money a month, and that might only get you, again, term.
Right.
Term is not bad. You just have to be able to have someone in your corner, your agent, your financial advisor, your financial professional, that's going to reach out to you on a regular basis, 6 months, a year, maybe more than that if you need, and say, hey, so when you sat down with them, I'll put it to you like this, when you sit down with me, we're going to talk about your financial goals as a family. We're going to talk about where you are as far as reaching those. Is it getting out of debt? Is it buying a house? Is it, starting the business? What is the next step? And a lot of times, people don't expect it, especially younger people, especially brown people. I think a lot of us have kind of dealt with, like in the 90s, there were certain life insurance companies, without naming any names, that kind of swept through the black and brown communities that were kind of like, you need this, take it,
and they would give them cheap insurance, and when they die, they didn't get anything.
They're so...
What is it called? Smitty told us called DP, something, gosh.
Don't know.
Right.
But what I will say is, it's important to understand what you have. And a lot of times, we in the 90s, in that era, and with those situations, we didn't know we had.
Right.
And so when you dealt with a person passing, you had to call and find out, or finally find my agent. What's the number? I'm telling you right now, I'm a person you can text, I'm a person you can call. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter if you know me for real. I won't always give you my Twitter, but you can find me on Facebook. You can probably find me.
People should be able to find you on Twitter, right? We should be able. You should be able to go in the neighborhoods, and this is what I talk about supporting black and brown folk, right? We talk about canceling July 4th, canceling this. So when you cancel, how are you adding, right? So if I'm adding, are we adding black, working with black life insurance agents, right? Are we working with we're working with black realtors, black mortgages, right? Are we working with black credit fixers, right?
A lot of companies, I hear a lot of big names that are being called to task about where their diversity is in their top tier, C-suite and other. I hear a lot about, companies that have it and some that don't. But New York Life has a good 1,300 black agents across the country. Our first black agent, to put it in perspective, New York Life is at 175 years old. We just celebrated our 175th anniversary. Cirillo McSween was the first black insurance agent ever in the company. And he worked for New York Life, and he started in 1957.
Wow.
Okay? But the catch to that is, he was not able to work in the office. They would not give him a contract in the office. So he had to go door to door and work from his satchel or his bag. He wasn't allowed to sit down and finish out the paperwork or the application. They didn't have digital paperwork then. Right. You know what I mean? So you carry thick applications with you.
God bless him. Yo, we're going to get ready to jump back into this. We're going to take a quick second break, but we struck a chord here. I want to dive more back into it. Welcome back to the Leadership Fellowship Podcast. We got to be qualified to have a conversation. I told y'all we're going to get into something crazy. Clearly the Sister Fatima Williams is lacing us right now and dropping some jewels with us. So Fatima, thank you. Let's go right back in, because I was ready just to sit back and listen. So you told us about the first black insurance agent at New York Life, or just in general?
In general, but he ended up working for New York Life.
In 1957?
Yes.
So we didn't even, we were still doing fried chicken dinners, fish fries, the Barry folks.
But the crazy part is, and I think this is where a lot of some of the misconception in the actual need comes from. He was only, because he was not allowed to work in the office. We did talk about that. Mm-hmm. But additionally, he was only able to sell $10,000 and $15,000 policies, no more. And a lot of our elders think that's all they need now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where it started. It's all that we could have, so that's all, give me everything. And I think that we kind of misunderstood, or maybe, that it's almost like telephone. You pass the information down and somewhere along the line it gets misunderstood. And
right.
10, 15,000. Some people have car notes more than that. Some people have student loans higher than that. Most of us have student loans that are more than that. So we want to make sure the benefits, when it comes to a death benefit of life insurance, is making sure that your family does not have to struggle or miss out on mourning you because they have to now sell a house or pay a bill or get money together to pay a bill or have to go to work, before they're ready to go to work. But the living benefit side of that is that there is equity in some policies, in some cash value building policies, and you're able to save money, tax-free money for most states. You want to pay a bill off, you want to buy a house, you need a down payment. Right. You don't have to go to a bank, you don't have to deal with some of the other struggles that we've dealt with as a people when it comes to getting approved for loans. Just take your own money that you've been accumulating and make your down payment, or add it to what you need to make your down payment.
Wait, so let me get this straight. So a brother like me goes, and let's say I have a $50,000 life insurance policy.
Okay.
And I've only put 10 grand in, right, over the course of, whatever, let's ballpark, 5 years, right? I got 10 grand in. I can go and get 10 grand, I can go take that 10 grand out.
Depends on a number of factors, but you would have cash value available to you that belongs to you, without having, and everything's an illustration. Everything is kind of, you know from the beginning how things will grow, the
Right.
things that are guaranteed, because there are guarantees, not just to stay black and die. You know what I mean? There's guarantees in life insurance, and then there are some things that will.
I think I met my equal, y'all. I really think I met my child. We use the same verbiage. We use the name. I promise the first time we met each other, we say the
Yeah.
same sayings. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Clearly, it's black church kids, but it's the thing. Like, we've all been told and we've all heard it. We've said it, but there's guarantees in the policy, and then there's also things that will be illustrated that are above and beyond. So it's a possibility that not just what we promised you, but you could get above and beyond. Whether it's a dividend, whether it's additional cash value growth, and these things are things that we don't understand. I mean, I had an elder tell me that she had a term policy with a company, and they wanted to offer her whole life, and she was going to have to pay the same amount to get a little bit less, like a third less, and she couldn't wrap her mind around why that made sense. And in my heart, I'm like, so you're going to be paying for a term policy for the rest of your life when you could be paying equity. People use this for retirement planning. This is a consideration for life insurance in retirement planning. It could be a viable option for you in addition to your 401k, in addition to your pension. You can use a life insurance policy to benefit you in retirement. And we're still looking at give me enough to bury me in. We're missing the mark when it comes to the need and the benefits.
Man, so then we got to talk.
Yeah.
So we may have to cut our episode short today because I feel like before Fatima leaves, I'm going to be filling out some paperwork, as I always do. But anyway, yo, so that's, I think, like you've laid out so much, and I think it's so important for people, especially black and brown communities, to understand their dollar, right? And so whether you're making $40,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, now how much you can stretch it and reasonably budget, right? And I think that's the other thing I tell folks all the time, learn how to build your budget, right?
Yeah.
And what is gross versus net, right? And so I think, is that one of the things, are you taking the extra steps as as an insurance agent to do that with the black community? And that's the first part. The second part is, what partners do you need to help you enhance your portfolio, but help raise more awareness about the life insurance industry?
Well, firstly, when it comes to the actual life insurance need, it's all about making sure that you have your foundation. A lot of times, we want to go straight into, I want an investment. You got stocks, you got bonds. I see everybody's an influencer now on social media about stocks and bonds, investments. I bought this low, I'm selling this high, and bear markets and bull and da-da-da-da. How much of that can you liquidate if something happens to you? How much of that can your spouse liquidate if something happened to you yesterday?
Right.
How can you guarantee that if you bought it low and it was high today, it won't change tomorrow?
Right.
And that's just keeping it. That's what it's. When people measure your risk tolerance, they want to know how knowledgeable and prepared you are to handle losing everything that you put in. That's not a life insurance policy. That's something completely different. That's an investment.
Because people think they're wasting money. Oh, I'm throwing $40 or I'm throwing $100 away a month because I'm paying my life insurance. But it's
a fund. You are funding your future. Now, whether and I don't even mean like for you to die. I mean because there are living benefits. Because you can, with a New York Life term policy, you have the option to upgrade your policy to whole. So
talk to us about term versus whole. Because a lot of people, you say this and that. We
Benefits
don't
in
even know
both.
this.
I mean, most people.
What does that mean?
Okay, so term means temporary. I mean, it means a short period of time. It's not going to be, the premium will not be finite. It's not going to be the same for the rest of your life. It's going to, at some point, based on when you've agreed to, 20 years, 10 years, whatever that policy length is, after that policy is over, you can opt to keep the policy, but you will be paying substantially more. And sometimes what happens is people miss out on opportunities to upgrade their term to something that lasts for the rest of their life, which I would consider a whole life or a permanent policy. And so, and they got sick later on in life. And so sometimes your only option is to maintain the status quo with this term policy. So you won't be able to grow the cash value. You won't be able to have equity, but you will have a death benefit. But you have to make sure that financially prepared to pay whatever that term policy increases to every year. On the other hand, and again, so usually with term it's lower cost compared to something permanent. And it's short, a period of time, it's a specific period of time, and also there's no equity, there's no cash value in a term policy. But with something permanent, most people know to be whole life, there are a few different permanent options, and that's definitely something that you can learn when you sit down with an agent. And
so when we sit down with you, you're gonna tell us we want whole
yeah.
policy. We're going all in, right? We got a lot of catching up to do.
It's fine.
Right?
I bet you don't. How about that? I bet you we can fix a lot with a little.
And again, I told y'all we may have to cut this episode short today. Because when people tell me I can save a little bit, I want to save a little bit. And I think there's so much more. And Fatima, can we have you back again?
Definitely.
Yeah, because we got to do this experience again. Because I feel like, just to let y'all know, we missed about 4 or 5, 6 questions we want to ask Fatima. But I want to do something different. I'm going to just look at my producer and ask him if I could just shake it up a little bit. Huge shout out to Mr. Encore.
Thank you, Mr. Encore.
Who makes this happen every week.
Don't be nervous,
grinds
sir.
his tail off with the editing, the music, and getting us a clear lineup with our special guests. Let's do a little speed dating. I'm gonna ask you a little, some crazy questions, and,
okay.
and I just want you to jump in. You can take 30 seconds to think about it or not.
Uh-oh.
Your dream job.
So that's a very long answer. I don't have a dream job. I have a bunch of ideas that will look to propel the Black and brown community, and I continue to write and update and edit those as I am imparted. This is a part of it. New York Life, or benefiting people through protection, savings, growth, education in the financial space is a part of it. And I didn't realize it was until I stepped into it. But if you're a business owner, again, a connector of people, a creator of brands.
Right.
So to propel that mantra, that would be my dream job.
Well, I need
Monday through Thursday.
I need you to help me. Black folk love their Fridays in the summer.
Summer Fridays all year.
They know.
Summer Fridays all year. I love a summer Friday. Put me on the boat. Approved.
Title of your book, what is it?
Ooh.
And who writes the forward?
The title of my book will probably be off the cuff, because most of the things I say I don't remember. It'll be written by my friend Lance Sims, who is a comedian, whether he knows it or not. Sarcasm and comedy, we click.
Love it.
Yeah. Another Howard University graduate, so yes.
Okay, I'm going to jump into politics a little bit.
Oh.
Who should be the vice president for Joe Biden? I think Joe Biden's going to win. So, who do you think should be the vice president for Joe Biden? Should it be a black woman?
I'm going to say I would love for it to be a black woman.
Okay.
I mean, I know that we have a lot of disconnect in the black community when it comes to how we uplift black women versus how we uplift black men. And I think.
Hold on, pause.
Ooh, did I get a note?
Let's rewind that. Say that one more time. Because people don't believe me when I say this. People don't believe me when I say that caping is different for black women and black men.
Most certainly, it is. We don't have a clear line of agreement in the community about how we uplift black men versus black women.
Breaking news. Oh my God, hallelujah, Holy Ghost. You see how he works? Let it not be strange.
Moving.
So you see him, right, in the spirits. So who's your pick?
Okay. There's a lot of qualified black women.
You sound very MSNBC-ish right now.
I feel like it, and I'm going to cruise that lane.
Okay.
Because we've talked about Abrams, and I think that she's kind of bowed out of the situation.
I love Aunt Stacey.
We've talked about Michelle, and I think that that's more of a dream, because Michelle was tired with Barack.
Aunt Michelle. Auntie.
Pardon me.
Okay.
Okay. FLOTUS, auntie. I think she was tired when Barack was done, or before he finished. So I don't think we'll see her. I think that having the black voice is important. I think that having the black female voice is important. I think a lot of the movements that have occurred as of late, especially since, shout out to Finding the Killers for Breonna Taylor, but all of the movements as of late have really been orchestrated by black women, and sometimes, we are misunderstood and easily triggered You know, there's ways. I remember
I bet my
reading.
twin, y'all.
I read an article about, you know, when you're in a disagreement at work, don't be afraid to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was.
But it's only appropriate now. Because 3 months ago, let you had talked about faith, race, and politics, your ass was getting fired. But go ahead.
Very much so. So no, like, I mean, physically, don't be afraid to stand up. So there was a situation years ago. I had a disagreement with a colleague. We were on the same level. The manager, owner came in to speak to us. So I stood up. And I was quickly told to sit down. And I was like, I'm going to let him say that again. Because I can hear it. And it was a threat, and I had never said a word. And I was like, oh, this is really something.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting.
Right.
Now, I mean, it's easy, you know, sassy, trigger word.
Sure.
Angry black woman,
Angry black
trigger
woman.
words.
Yep.
And they're intentional. Nobody keeps that in their pocket by mistake. People know when to say them, and I think that that's the reason why there's such trepidation when it comes to, should there be a female vice president, or should there not be? Because there's all these other trigger words that everyone else wants to use on us, but we also get ish done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So maybe there needs to be a check and balance, and there's nothing wrong with having a black female to do that. And she might be very much needed, whoever she is. I mean,
So you don't have a favorite? You don't gotta say if you have a favorite.
no, I don't. Not a viable favorite.
Not a viable favorite.
No.
I'm gonna tell you mine is Aunt Stacy.
Okay.
We started a bet back at work. I think it was before COVID. I said it was Aunt Stacy. I thought it was gonna be Uncle Joe and
Uncle Joe.
and Aunt
Aunt
Stacy.
Stacy. That
Because
sounds like a Saturday morning special.
listen, you know breakfast is gonna be banging with the two of them. But I tell you,
Fingers crossed.
and I said that, and I said this well before Joe Biden caught fire, right? And so, yeah, I'm a huge fan of that ticket. I say it's not. It's just to come out. I think she's going to be the first black Supreme Court justice.
I like that.
Well, I see her maybe at the DOJ. So that's what I think. So, second question. If I go on your iPhone right now, your iPhone or Android,
I'm definitely iPhone.
says a lot about a person.
That's
Right?
it.
So great job.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
great
you.
job.
I pass. I
Um,
pass.
What's your music playlist? Who's your heavy hitter?
So heavy hitter. I
You
mean,
go to right now. You're like, yo, I gotta get. You just want a good feeling. Who you going to?
Mega Stallion.
Oh.
But I've been feeling the Cali music. So the Insecure soundtracks from all 4 seasons have been heavy rotation in my playlist. Just that
I gotta download it.
Cali feel. It's very whimsical,
Okay.
but still can be thuggish, ruggish bone. And I appreciate it.
You mess with it. You mess with it. Okay. 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 Favorite person in history.
That's a tricky one. Favorite person in history. I'll say my dad. My dad passed
Tell me
away
about that.
2014. I miss him. I know that there's a lot of things that wasn't a whole lot of words when it came to things to remember or emulate, but definitely actions. The way he carried himself. He was an entrepreneur again. He was definitely a grinder. One of the first in his family to go to college. So I think he's one of my favorite people in history, if not the favorite.
I think we got maybe about 6 more minutes because you struck a chord. Do you believe in a legacy preference at school, in colleges? Do you think there should be a legacy preference?
What do you mean, like, if I went to Howard, my child should go to Howard?
Yeah, that they get preference.
I mean, yeah. Why not? Yes.
This is you and me, so you can question me all the time. So, do you believe in legacy preference? Like, is that, do you think, because I have my stance, and I was just open to it, but...
I mean, if the child is going to go to the college, yeah. I think there should definitely be an option. And I mean, I know it's happened at Howard. I think that there's I think you become alumni like after your freshman year. And so if you're a sibling or a parent of an alumni, like there's some kind of discount. That was when I was there. Not that long ago, but kind of not. Kind of. Don't judge me.
I'm strongly against the legacy preference.
Tell me why.
I think at the Ivy League schools in general,
where they say affirmative action works on our behalf, it doesn't. And so you see a lot of the slots being filled by people that don't look like us, and we're even more qualified. In times we're saying, oh, well, there's the SAT, there's the standardized test, or they come from this school, they rank this, they rank that, and no, there's a master plan, right? There's a master plan for when they're, they're younger, right? There's this plan where they got to go to Harvard, so we're going to put them in this school, they have to do this, they have to do that, versus us who went to Long Branch High School, Ocean Township High School, and there's nothing, right? And we just happen to fall on our skills and good grades. But our producers tell me I got to cut for one more break, and then we're going to come back for 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Leadership Fellowship Podcast, where you have to be qualified to have a conversation. Here we have Fatima Williams, and we're getting ready to close. Fatima, thank you so much. We dropped jewels tonight, and we had an opportunity. We didn't even scratch the surface. So you said you were joining us back, so we're definitely going to hit you for the invitation, part 2. Man, we have so many amazing guests lined up. But like we do at the end of a lot of our conversations, like we said, our moniker is you have to be qualified to have a conversation. Can you drop something on the people that follow us, that can be inspired, or something that they need to know that they otherwise would have not known if you were not on this podcast?
I will say that your dreams are attainable no matter what age you are right now. And I hope that, if nothing else, people learn that it's important to partner up with a team. And I think it's not always easy to partner up with someone, or to be humble enough to not be the leader of everything. I'll put it that way. But don't be afraid to partner with people who are knowledgeable in their space. Attorney, financial professional. Listen, there's some artists I know that want to manage themselves, and I've told them, you can't both be the creative and the brains. It's hard to be sensitive about your ish and then also see the business behind it. And so it's the same thing. Sometimes we're sensitive about our money, but let somebody be the manager behind your creativity. So that's the biggest thing. Find yourself a team, whether it's a financial professional with myself or someone else. Attorneys, there's Black qualified people. They've gone to school for it, they've been trained for it, and that's what they do. And sometimes we overlook that because we presume that there's lack of quality in our own community. But there's not. Trust me, we grind just as hard, if not harder, to get to where we are. So find us. Find your team that looks like you.
That's because we know how to survive.
We know that we also strive to thrive.
You're wrong. You gotta bring it back. So, how do people get in touch with you? Because I know I can't be the only one that wants to talk to you after this podcast.
That's good to know. Email is always great. ftwilliams@nyl.com. Definitely hit me up. Virtual meetings, phone, face-to-face, depending on the situation. I have masks, we'll travel.
I was gonna say Fatima did travel with her COVID mask today.
Sanitizer, the wipes, the whole nine. We play no games here. Black Lives Matter.
So, Fatima, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
so much
us
for having
the
me, guys.
Leadership Fellowship Podcast. We had a ball tonight, and as always, you got to be qualified to have a conversation. As we like to close, thank you so much. Folks are getting ready to celebrate a holiday weekend. Be safe. Do not roam on the beach. Wear your mask. Don't be stupid. Huge shout out to our producer, Mr. Encore,
Yes.
who always does an amazing job. Huge shout out to our sponsors, Mama Hill.
Yes, Mama Hill.
Right, Mama Hill. You got to get that vegan huge.
The homie.
Listen, Mama Hill is the best. Another huge shout out to another one of our sponsors, Mr. Maurice Snell at Freedom Mortgage, Black Realtor, support Black business.
Awesome.
And a huge shout out to the
Shivani Apparel.
Shivani Power. She's laced us with our apparel. So huge shout out to Shivani Apparel.
Merch is always a good thing.
Merch is always a good thing.
Yes.
And so we will always support Black and brown business. If you want to sponsor or be a sponsor on one of our podcasts, please get in touch with us. Drop us a DM. We love you. God bless. Good night. And remember, we're the ones qualified to have a conversation. Let's go.